Today's episode is sponsored by the O Spa. The O Spa offers a range of treatments and activities designed to nurture your body, mind and soul. Experience the transformative power of cold water therapy, inspired by Adele's own journey of resilience and renewal. Rebalance your body and mind with the comforting warmth of an infrared sauna, a sanctuary she discovered on her own healing path. Surrender to the healing touch of massage and understand the power of human connection and healing. Explore the ancient art of cupping therapy, a practice that has brought profound relief and relaxation. With over 20 years of spa experience behind her, she aims to provide each client with a tailored bespoke spa session and letting your journey to wellness begin here with Adele at the O Spa. You can contact Adele by email, or you can contact her at this number on WhatsApp to book your healing journey. Don't forget to mention the Jim King Show for your discount on all treatments. Thank you for everyone watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
And my first bit of bother really was assaulted the PE teacher at Smithy Croft Secondary School. And for any young man's listening, it's no the way to go. And I would get into a jeweller's, put a pair of glasses on, a shirt and tie, and kind of speak polite. I say I was in to get an engagement ring. But one is at the fucking lot and just run out with full pads. So that was just escalating. And then for that, the gun came out. You know what I mean? And it was robbing post office vans and things like that. I was actually involved, I'm not afraid to say, because I was a thug then as well, Jim. And I would be slashing people with Stanleys, but I was only trying to get in first. And we actually had the cheek, me and a friend, to get into B&Q up at the Hugginfield Lock and steal the Stanleys. And one of the prison officers says, "Oh, you do want to be here? You're going to the gangster wing." And I went, "The gangster wing?" And it was all these London people and all great guys. And it was fucking, for a jail, it was brilliant. In 91, Charlie Bronson was kind of he was there, and he was in another hole. And all I could hear about 10 o'clock at night was all these animal noises and lion noises and all that. Windows getting smashed. It was Charlie Bronson. And I heard the next morning when the Scoos opened his door, he dressed himself in all this red Indian pink or red or whatever, and ran out going, "Blah." So everybody at the jail was all excited. Big mate Charlie Krays coming. But also in the landing there was Eddie Richardson, for the Richardson brothers.
And they were rivals back in the day.
They were rivals back in the day, but I was friendly, very friendly with Eddie. So I was in the food boat with Eddie and Ronnie and another friend and all that.
What was Eddie like?
Eddie was a complete gentleman. Eddie actually got to jail, I think he was about 52 or 54. He got another 25 years. It was a cocaine conspiracy with a Colombian. And the first day also with my partner, another gun incident. Fuck. So in Anchorline, hadn't even kissed her, Jim, and we came out. Next minute, all these police, I'm police, have you got a gun? And I was kind of a stun, but I was drunk, I sobered up with all these cocktails, they were just came flying at me.
Ian Blink MacDonald, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Jim. It's been an honour for you to ask me, you know what I mean?
Mate, it's a great pleasure to have you in the studio. An incredible fucking life story, right? There's so many things we can touch on, but before we get right into your powerful story, if you can speak me through what you've got going on in the now and the present.
Yeah, it's fine. This is actually the first I've only, I don't know if a lot of people know this, I've only done 5 actual podcasts in 6 years, so this will be the 6th. Some people, they do 5 a week or 5 a month. So this is my 6th podcast. I've done some crime documentaries and things, and also my YouTube thing and all that, but this is only the 6th person really interviewing me, so it's been a while, but I did promise that I would do Jim's show, you know what I mean?
No, and I appreciate that, Ian. There's a mad story there, because I actually met you 2 years ago, roughly.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember it very well. I was in Duke Street. I was a good friend of mine. We'd been out for the Friday to the Sunday, mad with it, and couldn't get a taxi, and I came round from my friend's house, Ross, and Jim kind of noticed me, didn't you, and shouted over. And of course I did recognise Jim. He'd a thing, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I recognised Jim, and he'd a wee thing going called Mercader, was it? Mercaber, with you and your wee friend.
Good friend of mine, aye.
And you were doing a lot of good, Jim. You were walking about city centre, talking to the homeless, trying to give them advice. And no, so I recognised you right away. Then we get talking, and
it was a bit of a synchronicity, because I'd just come out my flat. And I'd bumped right into you.
Yeah, aye.
And I was saying to you, we'd recognised each other and stuff.
Yeah, aye.
Having a wee chat, and you looked a wee bit edgy, and I'm saying, what's up with you? And you says, I've been out in a bender, I'm trying to get a taxi. And I says, I'll run you.
You did kindly say that.
But it ended up quite a funny story, because you jumped in the car, and I'm driving down, right? It was down by Celtic Park.
Aye, it was.
And we'd stopped at the traffic lights, and you started telling me the story about the bomb under the car, and I'm saying, hope there's not a fucking bomb under this car, you know? But,
for fuck's sake.
But again, it just shows you how things work.
Aye.
And then I spoke to you then, so it was a long time ago, but you did agree, and
then
you're a man
I
of your
heard
word.
you'd started your show up, you got in touch beginning of the year, and I wasn't in a good place then, Jim, but I rejuvenated myself the last few months doing the walks and talks, and I says to my people were asking me, would I do a podcast? And I says, the first person I'm going to do a podcast, if I did do one, would be Jim King. I says, because I promised them, know what I mean?
No, I appreciate that, mate.
So we're going to talk today. And
so here we are.
Here we are.
It's going to be a crazy conversation, but before we go back into your story, right, there's a story there. This is about 2022. I think everybody wants to know from the man himself.
Right.
I'm sure, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but there was a James English event at the Crown Plaza in Glasgow. Can you talk me through that?
Aye, well, just briefly, that was March 2022, and he was hosting somebody, James, I knew James, his father and his uncles, maybe about 40 years ago, and I'd met James briefly, you know what I mean, about 6 years ago before I'd done a podcast with him, and I phoned James up and asked him, could I get 2 tickets for me and the partner? I says, we were sick of eating mince and totties. This was going to be a big event where you get a 3-course dinner. And he says he would get back to me, blah, 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 blah. But what I forgot to mention, that before he got back to me, I gave him 3 cheeky voicemails during the night. And so that's kind of a story to that. So the partner, I says to her, get tickets, I'm going down, and friends were saying, you better not go down there, blah, 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 blah. But to tell you the truth, Jim, I was still stuck in cocaine addiction at the time. That's a thing I've battled with all my life. And says, no, I'm going down there. And so got down, got in, and I ended up running up the stage. But before James had introduced the person, I shouted, he's for Black Hill and blah, 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 blah. And James was shouting, there's kind of a heckler or something like that. And I went, I'm going up there. And the girlfriend at the time says to me, she says, cool down. And I looked at her as if to say, you weren't even born when I went about with this guy in 1980, you know what I mean? And I just says, fuck it, I'm going up on the stage. Not because any drama, but mad with it, as I said. And I took the mic off the person, and James kind of looked, and I praised the person up, know what I mean? And I was no thing with cheekiness. Then he took the mic off, and he says, a round of applause for Blink. And it kind of stole James's thunder, because the Sun done a story about it and says, I gate crashed it. But to tell you the truth, I made a fool of myself that night. I shouldn't have went down, you know what I mean? But it was the cocaine and the substance. And I've actually spoke to James. I hadn't spoke to him for 2.5 years. And I actually spoke to James just Saturday there, because I'd done a wee walk and talk, and I was going on about it and saying, look, it wasn't all one-way traffic that he knocked me back for the tickets. I was cheeky in that as well. And So we got talking, and the other person, I don't know what's happening. I mean, we've spoken for 20 years, but I would speak to him. I mean, because try to get my life on track now, Jim. Try to be a wee bit more sensible, and because it's been crazy, you know what I mean. And the drugs have a lot to do with it, you know what I mean.
Of course, mate.
So that was the Crown Plaza incident, and
you're in your 60s now.
Yeah,
we spoke about it earlier.
I still feel 40, but Jim,
you still act it.
I know.
But it's one of the things where I was speaking to you and I'm saying, how much trauma can somebody go through and still have their own sanity? You know, so there's going to be issues there, and you also spoke to me as well when you're doing these walks and talks back in the day in the 90s and stuff. If you were to admit your emotions and how you were feeling, that'd be classed as a weakness.
Definitely.
Especially in the underworld.
Definitely.
Now, we both agreed it's a strength now when you can speak about these things. But again, before we go back to the start of your story, Ian, right, we'll try and tap into things.
Yeah, I would like to just mention that, Jim, it's not only people that was in the underworld, but with all this, it was, see if you were brought up in the 60s or the 70s, men saw it as a weakness to even go to the doctor, and it would be held in. But nowadays you've got a classic example. Tyson Fury came out, and he's a world champion boxer, and he admitted suicidal and everything. I thought that took a lot for somebody like that. So the thing to do now is open up and talk. It does help, and it certainly helps me as well, you know what I mean? Before I was old school, as I says, no, I wouldn't talk, no, that, you keep it all in, but you're just bottling it up. So no, it's good to talk, and it's one of the most afflictions in life now is mental health. It's a big thing, and to talk about it does help.
Definitely. But like I said, before we get right back to the start of your story, you've been involved in some crazy things, fucking shootings, bank robberies, prison stories, gangland things, you know, it was like never ending for you.
It was never ending, yeah.
But you're sitting here now and you're, as you said, able to speak from the heart through emotions. But I'm going to take you back now, right? And we'll try and talk about stuff that you've not really spoke about. It's a new episode, it's fresh.
Because I says to Jim before it, I says, I've done the other podcast, and I says to Jim, no disrespect, but I don't want to regurgitate of things people have heard or blah, 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 blah. And so I says to him, try and bring some new kind of
definitely, mate.
Really spoke about.
But it's important for people that don't really know your story, which will not be many, but to know kind of your background, where you come from and stuff. I know you grew up in Blackhill. I've also got family there. I'm sure you stayed in the same street, Drumpelia Street.
Drumpelia Street.
Growing up there, it must have been tough, mate.
I was actually born in Springburn, Jim, till I was 6, and we moved up to Drumpelia Street. Then from there, we moved round to Proven Mill, you know what I mean? So all my childhood was spent in Blackhill and Proven Mill. I had a good childhood, you know what I mean?
I think people always say, oh, back then it was voted one of the most roughest areas in Europe.
One of the most deprived areas in Europe, it was.
But if you're from there, then it's...
Aye. But see then, Jim, just at my house at Drumpelia Street, we used to have cracking times walking along the canal, and great times down there. And a lot of people know this, especially younger generation, the M8 motorway, that was a big canal, and it stretched from Ridgeway Primary School where I went to, and it went all the way up to Easterhouse, Baillieston and all that, you know what I mean? And then they took the canal away and they built the motorway, you know what I mean? So that was a good place for us to get in and childhood memories, and we used to play two-man hunt and all that. The kids these days, a lot of them, they're getting problems with eyesight, they're on the computers too much, but back in my day we never had nothing, you know what I mean? But we were out in the streets all the time. You could leave your door open and all that, but you couldn't do it these days, and it was good then, you know what I mean? It was a good era. We never had nothing, so that was that. So it was a good time, you know what I mean?
I can relate to that in a way, because I grew up very young in Bell Rock Street, I think up to about age 5. And there was no technology really then. You know, it was like the old tenements and stuff. And it was like kind of the 80s, just when you were starting to get into a bit of bother. But was your what age were you then when you first started really getting involved in crime? Was it car thefts? That was...
Well, to tell the truth, Jim, my dad was a strict disciplinarian. He worked, my mother worked, and we were all scared of my dad. And I think it was a good thing. And we always wanted to go and hang about the paper corner, not with other lads, but my dad was like pure strict. And having my mother, there was always the police up at the door and all that. And so my mother had enough, and she just told him, yeah, that's it. But we used to always think, he used to get away for periods at a time for 3 and 4 weeks, and we'd go up to my granny's. We loved it. I sat with my grandad watching the wrestling and all that. You know what I mean? Big Daddy, Giant Haystocks, even Mike McManus and all that on a Saturday afternoon. It was great. Then we'd always get back to the house. My mum would take him back. But I get told that the 4 weeks, where was he going? Oh, he's away to this fancy hotel. But in later years, it was quite funny. My dad wasn't going to a fancy hotel. You might know this place, Jim. It was done in Denison. It was called the Great Eastern. It was a modo. For people who don't know what a modo, it was like a doss house, you know what I mean? And it was a wee tiny room and that. It's all flats now. It's just done for Sea Tenants Breweries. That was the Great Eastern Hotel. So it wasn't going to this 5-star hotel. So what happened is, Jim, enough was enough. And so he was away, and I'll try and say it quickly. Within a year, me and my 2 brothers were in approved schools. We hung about the boys at the corner, and my poor wee ma couldn't deal with it. No, I mean, we took the cunt out, to tell you the truth. And my first bit of bother really was assaulted the PE teacher at Smithy Croft Secondary School. And for any young man's listening, it's no the way to go. But so I got expelled. Then before you know it, I was in Larch Grove in the Kibble, and my brother Alan and Gary, they followed suit. So the phrase, that was us. Oh, and my poor wee ma, she was never away from PlayStation. So that's how it all kind of started.
Must have been hard for your wee ma.
It was. And she came to every jail, Scotland, England, everywhere. And she used to always come up to Long Regend and other places, and even it was snowing and all that. And it's your family to look after you. You're in prison and that, you know what I mean? And she was fantastic, you know what I mean? And we put her through a lot of stress.
Going through into like your late teens and stuff like that, the crime would just escalate. It'd become... It
did. It started after when my dad left us to get expelled from school. Then it went to car theft, shoplifting. Then I started doing jewellers, you know what I mean? I wanted to get more money. I was only 19 at the time, and I would get into jewellers, put a pair of glasses on, a shirt and tie, and kind of speak polite and say I was in to get an engagement ring. What one is at the fucking lot and just run out with full pads. Then it escalated to smashing the windows in jeweller shops, even when they were open, you know what I mean? And then we'd done that many in Scotland. We went over Hadrian's Wall to plunder the English, to do the jewellers there. But saying that, nothing against the English, because I've got a lot of good English friends we'll talk about later years when I was in prison. So that was just escalating. And then for that, the gun came out. You know what I mean? And it was robbing post office vans and things like that. But I was very lucky, Jim. Up to the age of 30, I was going like that. By this time, we're up in Springburn, me and the missus at the time, we had a pub, the wee XR2 and a wee caravan in Anstruther there in the house in Bishop Briggs, Spam Valley. You had to eat spam to pay the mortgage. So it was all escalating all the way through the years of the crime. But I was saying, I've not been caught. My brother Gary done 8 years, and Boston as well, and other friends done 10 years. So it got to 30, and I was saying I missed the big one. But
is this into like the late 80s then?
This would be my thing. When I first got into trouble, I was 14, Jim. I would have been, it would have been 1975, 76. and then that's when it started. But then into the 80s, the early 80s, the jewellers would be getting done. Then, as I say, the gun would be coming out, robberies, and always wanted to be a millionaire at 30, but that never happened, Jim. I got 16 years at the Old Bailey for an attempted robbery for £6 million. So if you go to do anything, you don't think you're going to get caught. So my plans were, I'm going to Marbella and I've probably going to get a big kilo of Charlie and nose deep in it.
So
and open a nightclub and all that. That was the plans. What happened is it all went disastrously wrong, and instead of getting £1 million was supposed to be my cut at it, I got 16 years. You know what I mean?
Before we get into that story, Ian, so I'm sure that was around about 1991.
That was 91, yeah.
So I think it's around about the late 80s then, right? In your
Late
story,
80s,
I know
yeah.
there was a couple of shooting incidents.
Well, Jim, see while I'd graduated for the car theft, shoplifting, the jewellers and the robberies, I was actually involved, I'm not afraid to say, because I was a thug then as well, Jim, and I would be slashing people with Stanleys, but I was only trying to get in first, and we actually had the cheek, me and a friend, to get into B&Q up at the Hugginfield Lock and steal the Stanleys. So we were gaining a reputation at that, and person that came from Provenmill, who was very well known, Arthur Thompson, he was called the Godfather. I knew all his family, I'd went to school with him, and when I was a boy, 13, 14, I'd hear stories and all these Krays and all that. And so when I actually got prison, Jim, in 91, he didn't just know the Krays, he knew the whole of London. And I used to call him Mr. Thompson, and one of my other friends joined up with him. I tried to say, don't go and stick with me, but...
Did you have many dealings with Arthur?
I had some dealings with him, yeah. Yeah, but I never worked for him. You know what I mean? I get summoned to his house twice, you know what I mean?
What was that like?
That was Billy Thompson used to come round. He's dead, I know it was his son, and he used to come round to my ma's. Summoned twice, and the first summons was, my dad wants to see you, and I went, oh, for fuck's sake, was it now? And this is early 80s, and he was always courteous, Mr. Thompson, blah, 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 blah. How you doing, son? Blah, blah, blah. He says, brother, Alan, alcohol. And I went, oh, fuck. Alan was doing this scam, a razzle-dazzle scam. He was going to razzle-dazzle, stealing these cheap chains and putting a wee attachment on it, a wee gold thing, and selling them £300 or £400. He only sold them to Mr. Thompson's daughter and her friend. And a couple of weeks later, their necks went green. So Mr. Thompson was saying to me, oh, my daughter and that's, can you get the money back? And I went, for fuck's sake, man, it's a razzle-dazzle scam. And I says, I'll get it sorted. So I went to the house, saw my brother, and he was like, fuck it, man, we'll pay him back. I went, you can't, it's the Godfather and all that. And so the second summons was kind of that was more kind of a serious, you know what I mean? And he asked me a few things that I'll not get into about someday. And he wanted to come up to a visit in Berlin with me to see this person. I was draining it, you know what I mean? And so, but to say about Arthur Thompson, Mr. Thompson as I called him, I know the other person that speaks badly, but I'm only gone in the past tense, Jim. But when I knew him, he was the real deal. I've never saw anybody like it, you know what I mean? You looked at him, his shark's eyes, and that was just my impression in the 80s, you know what I mean? He was kind of a real deal, Thompson.
So see, before you got your big sentence then, you were involved in a couple of incidents, like I said. I'm sure there was one in Denniston. Was it a car dealership or something? What happened there? Before
I got to jail in 91, Jim, the violence played a big part in my life as well, you know what I mean? I'm not going to shy away from that. And I was actually in Berlin twice for attempt murder for shootings. The first one was 1988. Somebody allegedly shot in a car sales showroom, and I get charged with that. And I was in Berlin remand and went to trial. and we got a not guilty, me and my friends, for it at the High Court. But see, just before we went to High Court, I had Donald Finlay, and my friend had a guy, he was a Lord Dawson, but he was a QC at the time. He became a judge. And before we went up the stairs, my friend says to us, my QC just says, look, you're done at the park here. Plead guilty and I'll try and get you under 10 years. I said, well, mine says the same, Donald Finlay. And Donald Finlay was a highly regarded, one of the best QCs in Scotland. And he says to me, you're done in paper and all that. He says, you must know something that I don't. I says, well, so anyway, so we went to court and we got a not guilty for it. So it was quite funny as well, Jim, because I tried to walk out the dock, right, when my friend and I was walking it. And it was, at the time, the prison officers took you to court now, so privatised and to free up the prison officers. So it was the prison officers in. And I tried to walk out the dock, and they went, where are you going? I said, we heard not guilty. They went, yeah, a few weeks earlier, months earlier, you were actually at court. You've been charged with assaulting prison officers. And I went, fuck, well, you've got to try it. But that was a big aspect to my life as well, Jim, in Berlin. It was like a second home to me. And I've had my troubles in there. I battered them, they battered my cunt in. I just don't like the place, it's horrible.
So you walked for that one then?
I walked for that one in 1998. And there was another one in 1990. It's in my book called My Famous Alibi. To just give you a wee backup story to it quickly, Sheena Easton, who we spoke about earlier, you went, who's that? And because Jim's a lot younger than me, of course, you know what I mean?
Aye.
I said, Sheena Easton was very huge back in 1990 and she moved to America. So she came back to do this fun day. It was in Glasgow Green. So it was a free concert the council were putting on. So she was there and she ended up, people were pelting her with plastic bottles. She had a song at 95, I saying 95, get back to America and all that. So after the concert, Jim, I went to the car and I was sitting with a friend. The next minute, 3 of my enemies turned up. And I went, oh, for fuck's sake, they must have saw the car. And I thought they had a gun and I jumped into the car and I'm a cunt of a driver, you know what I mean? But I don't know how I reversed and got away, but I found out it was a spear gun they were pointing. So Jim, I got up to London Road just near the police station and I went, bastards, blah, 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 and I'm sitting, so I'm looking in the rear view mirror and I see this car coming. It was doing about 60 or 70 miles an hour. And I went, what? And it wasn't slowing down, Jim. It just fucked the back of the car. My car spun round. Mrs. Saint was screaming. And I knew it was these people, you know what I mean? And I went, fuck. So the car spun round, stopped, and one of them jumped out. And they did have a real gun, a pistol, pointed it at me. And the grace of God, I managed to just get the car going. The fucking old one was off at the back. And so that's what happened then. And about 4 weeks later, the person's brother was shot in Ingram Street in Glasgow city centre. And I was in the Ross at the time. And I came back and it had been in the newspapers. They were looking for 3 people, me and 2 of my friends. And they never gave the names, but 2 of my friends says it's us they're looking for. So I phoned my lawyer, Joe Shields, for Gallon Company. Joe was a highly respected lawyer. He's dead now. And he actually got slashed outside the Sheriff Court a few years ago, Joe. I don't know what it was all, but Joe was a good lawyer. I had him for about 18. So Joe came up to the house up in Spam Valley at Bishop Briggs where I was staying at the time and phoned down Stewart Street. And this is how crafty the police can be. It's way back then. He says, got Ian MacDonald here. Believe you're looking for him. They went, oh yes, we just want to talk to him. And he says, no, I won't. No, I won't. So he looked at me and Joe said, do you want to get down? And I went, okay, we'll be down half an hour. So I says to the missus at the time, I says, have my dinner on. I'll be back in an hour. Me and Joe get down to Stewart Street and we parked in the corner. Jim, we hadn't even got to the front door and about 6 police came rushing out and they just all jumped and told me. And I went, what the fuck's going on here? They've dragged me in the front door and Joe's like, what's happening here? They went, no. No messing about, Jim. Straight to the charge bar. You're charged with attempted murder, shooting somebody in Ingram Street. And I was like, oh, fuck. fucking hell. So Joe's like, you just need to be quiet to read the charges, blah, blah, blah. So you go for these interviews. So they took me, I usually say no comment. But I ended up saying, yeah. So where were you this night? When this shooting happened in Ingram Street? Rossi. So we're sticking on out anymore than that. I mean, so who were you with? And I mentioned I was with the missus and her mother, to my stepdad, who was a big film buff at the time, and my young son. So, any other witnesses, Ian? And I went, oh yes. I said, see I think it was the second or first night we arrived, Jim. This shooting occurred at 8 o'clock at night. So we were driving around the island around about that time. And as I say, my stepdad was a big film buff, and he went, oh, there's somebody very, very famous walking the dogs. This guy had a big estate in Rossi. So he said, stop the car, and we were kidding on, we were looking at the sea, and he walked by, and his stepdad said, how you doing? It was only Sir David Attenborough. Do you know he's got a famous brother that does all the thing with the animal things and all that? Nature stuff and that. So David Attenborough and his wife were walking all the dogs, and I know it's Sir Richard Attenborough. So we got speaking to him just and how you doing? So the police says to me, so it was this other person, and I went, Sir Richard Attenborough and his wife, and they went, oh, for fuck's sake, are you some sort of a fucking joker or something? So they've put the tape off. I hadn't even told Joe Shields this, because I thought it was just like getting down and getting out. So that was that, and I ended up going to Berlin. So I never got the meal for the missus. I got the Berlin stew, you know what I mean? And Jim, I was actually in for a week, and I knew how people, it's innocent. One of my good friends at the time, Ernie Barry, Ernie had just been cleared not that long ago, rough justice for 18 years, a bank robbery, coincidentally, he never done. So I was in a week in the petition in Berlin saying I know how Ernie felt. And I went down to court and actually get bail. But before that, they took me down to Stuart Street during the week, and my mother and that gave the account. We were in Rossi, but they were kind of saying things that, but he could have went back in the ferry, come back, and all that. And so that was that. So
you walked for that.
I walked for that, Jim. I never actually went to trial with it, because that was 1990, and I was out in bail for it. And that's when the bank kind of
was going to ask you. So
you
obviously at that point you're still mixed up with so much crime, and it's the mindset of a criminal, because you're thinking, what else am I going to do?
We were up in the pub in Springburn, and to tell you the truth, we were having a good wee life then, and somebody appeared at the pub, 91, Michael Healy. Michael escaped for shots. You hear people saying they escaped for prisons, but Michael actually escaped for the prison. I was in with him when I was in for the first shooting in Denison, and Michael was in for a robbery, and Michael had already been in Jessiefield, young offenders, with my brother Gary. So I knew Michael briefly, and we get speaking and all that, and he says, if I get done for this as a plan B, I mentioned this in my book. So I was going, what's this plan B? He says, what about yourself? I went, I think I'm going to get done with this and all, but fortunately, I get away with it. Michael got 10 years. So his plan B was he went to Shotts prison. He was only there about 10 months. He's done 10 years. He worked in the cookhouse. And this van used to come in, butcher's van, and he could see an opening there. The guy was away, and Michael got into the van. He got somebody to put a few sacks over him, just shut the van. The security was laxing. They drove down to the gate. The prison officer just never done their job, lazy, just opened the door. I can see it. So they drove out the prison, and Michael was away for 3.5 years. So I appeared up at the pub in Springburn, and I went, for fuck's sake, look who it is. He'd been away about 2.5 years. He says, where have you been? He went, I've been Germany, France, England. I went, fucking hell. I says, you've done well. I says, what brings you up here? You know what I mean? And he says, I'm in Torquay now. I went, fuck you get about, Michael. He says, I've got something to put to you. He says, it could be a retirement fund. I went, I was interested. Keep going, Michael, because I always wanted to be a millionaire at 30. And Michael says to me, I'm down in Torquay and I've got a bank set up. There could be as much as £3 to £6 million. Interesting? Or I says, think of this. So this was in March 91. He says, we'll be back a couple of months later, give me an answer. So he came back. He says, everything's all set up, blah, blah, blah. And for people who always say, Blink was only the glorified driver, know what I mean? Yes, I was driving. I wasn't inside the bank when it occurred. But Michael says to me that day, I was willing to get in the bank. When he came back to see me a couple of months later, Michael says, listen, I want you to be the driver. You can sit outside and blah, blah, blah. And I went, right. But me and his brother, we took the guns and all that and walkie-talkies, and we nearly got arrested on the way getting done with all this, didn't we? At London, then we transferred to Torquay and we based ourselves on a caravan site. So I don't want to get too much into it, Jim, because it's been all regurgitated, but quickly I'll say that it never happened. No, I mean, the chief cashier, Roy, was late for work, and I got into the Count House quite recently, one of my favourite pubs, and that used to be a bank, Jim, before I got to 91. So I was in doing a wee thing, my walk and talk, and they've actually got the vault in there, Jim.
Right.
And I done a wee thing about it, and I went, fuck, that's the gates that stopped me getting the cash.
Aye.
So anyway, it all went disastrously long. I get back to the caravan site, Jim, I get arrested with armed police. I managed to get away. I says, fuck this. Got the cuffs off, got to London. Somebody came and picked me up. But I had unfinished business in Glasgow at the time. I was involved in another weekend of a gangland war. It's been like that all my life. And so a good friend gave me a gun, 6 dum-dum bullets in it for maximum effect. So in that 5 weeks I was on the run, Jim, from May to June. I was hoping I was going to bump into an enemy, because I says, I've nothing to lose, I was going to shoot them. But I'm glad that never happened, you know what I mean? Because it'd just been mere fucking time and
chaos in
whatever
your
else.
life, isn't it?
So that's what kind of happened.
You were arrested.
I was arrested
Chinese
5 weeks at a Chinese restaurant with a gun. But see, before that, Jim, I was talking to you earlier, see, 3 days before that, I was seeing this girl, she's quite a successful businesswoman now. So we were over in the West End on the Saturday. I get arrested on the Tuesday in June 91. So on the Saturday night, I'm meeting this girl on the West End. They run a place, it was either called Barrows or Chimichungas. It's called Cooper's now. And there was Clatty Pats. Everybody knew about Clatty Pats, the dancing. So while I was in Chimichungas or Barrows, it was called at the time, I was going to the toilet and I had the gun just in my waistband. It was fully loaded and that. And I says to the girl, open your bag. And I just went like that, put that in there, went to the toilet. She came back and she went, did you put a gun in my bag? And I went, well, I hope so. I says, is it still there? She went, yeah. She went, what are you doing with that? I went, oh. And I says, well, some people don't like me and that. She says, so you're going to shoot them? I went, well, hopefully not. So Jim, full credit to the girl. We went over to Clatty Pats, and at the time, security and all that, they weren't really searching, and they weren't searching girls' bags. She walked in there with that gun. Know what I mean? And just shoot up a bit, pardon the pun, when I got out in 2001. I was in 10.5 years, know what I mean? And I was over in Vodka, where I was last week with friends, in Ashton Lane. So I was out on a date with this girl, and this other girl came over and says, hi, blah, blah. She was with her friends. And the girl I was with went to the toilet, and this girl was like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was going, I'm trying to think, because I hate that, seeing people come up and say, I don't like to be ignorant, Jeremy. Even people in the street just now, if they come and say to me, hey, how you doing? I'm going, who the fuck are they then? My friends just say, who are you? But that's not my nature. I kind of like to...
You're saying hello as if you know them and stuff.
And you're trying to think who it is. So anyway, this girl, I couldn't think who she is. And she went, you don't remember me? And I went, aye, I do. And she went, what's my name? And I went, what? She went, you don't remember me? You've slept with me. Yeah. So it was this girl for the gun, Jim.
Right.
So I was like, oh, for Christ's sake, and I was looking at it and I'm going, you're not looking too good, no? Fucking hell. And then, because you look fantastic when I saw it. But to tell you the truth, Jim, the girl I was with that night, she ended up, I was talking to this girl, she ended up saying, I'm away and all that, and blah, blah, blah. So I was walking we got up to Bath Street, and I think it was China Whites. It was Cushion after, I think it was China Whites, it was called then. She was with her friends. So I was ready to get in with her, and she went, where are you going? I said, come around. She went, do you think you can just, Jim, I actually thought I could just start off where I left off in 91 and just continue seeing this girl. But she went, no, wait a minute. I've got a boyfriend and all that. I'm going in here and you're no welcome. So that was it. But to be fair, I was at a do 7 or 8 years later, and somebody came over, this girl, used to see my girl, the girl with the gun in the bag episode, and she went, oh, she says you were cheeky to her that night and all that, and blah, 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 and I went, she says, do you know she is beautiful? I went, aye. I said, show me a photo. Jim, she was stunning.
Alan?
Aye. For 7 years, I don't know if she had all the things or not, but anyway, she looked great. You know what I mean? Credit where it's due. So I says to this girl, I went, my God, she's looking fantastic. And I says, is she still doing her stuff? Oh, yes, she's a very successful businesswoman. She's got a penthouse flat in Bovril, big map. And I says, yeah, there's my number. Tell her I come down to my ma's and get a plate of soup. And you know what she says? Her pal went, she wouldn't put the boot in you now. I went, aye, all right.
But that just shows you.
So it just shows that was, I can never laugh about it, and that was a wee instant.
But we'll go back into
another gun thing. I mean,
we'll go back into the story. Just going back the years, I know you were arrested, the Chinese restaurant and stuff like that. So did you have to go to court down south?
Well, Jim, see, when I got arrested in the Chinese restaurant with the gun, I was like, for fuck's sake, because I got to London Roads police station and they says, listen, we've been looking for you for 5 weeks, finally got you. And at that time, Jim, there was no, at that time they used to sit in cars along your street, but now it's so high tech, they can just bug you and just sit up and get gosh there and all the rest of it. So it was a squad called the Scottish Crime Squad. It's a serious crime squad now, and the Scottish Crime Squad were drafted in from all over Scotland to hunt somebody down. So it was them that was looking for me. So I got to London Road and they went, we were arresting you for a warrant for a bank robbery in England. They says, but since we've found this gun, you're going to Glasgow Sheriff Court in the morning. I went, oh, for fuck's sake. Jim, to put you in the picture, my brother Gary, he'd been arrested for another attempted murder. He'd moved up to Malton-a-Campsie and I'd been up to see him in the March, and there was these prison officers. I was sitting in the visit room, and because of all the doings and all I've had in there, so this one prison officer walked by the visit room, well, the waiting room, and I shouted, here you fucking prick, you want to be so hard now? So all the girls and the women and the children were all laughing and all that, and this cunt with a red face. So they shouted the visits, they never shouted me out. So I went to the desk and there was a few prison officers there. When was happened to my visit, and they just went, here you prick, get to fuck out. And I went, oh, these cunts might try and batter me in here, even though I'm a civilian, to get me jail. So I opened the door and I went, come on out and I'll fucking take you a square, go out here, you cowardly cunts, blah, 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 blah. But Jim, I paid for that. 3 months later, this thing happened, the bank robbery, where I was going to be a millionaire, but stood one day a £1 coin after it. No, I mean, like, this was...
That's right, you had to make a phone call, somebody helped you out.
Phone call and somebody came from London.
So when did you go down south then to face the charges?
I went down south, Jim. I ended up in Berlin in the June when I got arrested for the gun. I was in the Wendy house for 5 weeks. So by the way, they kicked fuck out of me and that the first night in as well, you know what I mean? And I went to Edinburgh High Court and I got 2.5 years for the gun. And I was doing very quickly I was dying to go to Berlin. I was doing very quickly to England, and I was charged and they took me down to Bristol, and my co-accused Michael Carroll was there, and he says, see, when you go out on Monday to go to court, he says there's going to be 2 Range Rovers, there's going to be police motorcycle riders, they're all going to be gunned up, helicopter. I went, what? So I go out on the Monday morning, Jim just away to Torquay, and there was marksmen on the roof and all that. And so then I thought I was going back to Bristol, but they took me to this place. They don't tell you you're going to. So it was a long journey, and we arrived at this place, and I went, where are we? And they said, you're at HMP Long Lartin, and there's a chapter in the book, Jim, the gangster wing. And we got to the reception, and I was in there, and I says to the prison officers in reception, I don't really want to be here, I want to be in Bristol. But she tells me Bristol was a shithole, it was bloody. This Long Lartin, I didn't realise, but top security prisons, how it was, you can cook and relaxed regime. And so I was getting 2 over to the wing, and one of the prison officers says, oh, you do want to be here, you're going to the gangster wing. And I went, the gangster wing? And it was all these London people and all great guys. And it was fucking, for a jail, it was brilliant.
Oh, there was some high profile names there. The list goes on.
There was loads.
Charlie Krays.
That came later. I was in Long Lartin 3 times, Jim. This was 91.
Right.
I went straight down. This came later.
Who was the first kind of high profile people that you'd met then?
In 91, Charlie Bronson was kind of he was there, and he was in another hole. But to put you in the picture, in Long Lartin at that time, it was a relaxed regime, and you could get hooch made up. There was even people making curries and all that. And a Friday, people would be buying the hooch and buying the curries. And so Charlie Bronson, and he came into, I didn't know, he came into our wing, and he was having a drink, you know what I mean, before he went back to his own wing. And he got a bit boisterous, and he just started jumping up on this table with his boots and all on his side, and all the screws, and all shitting himself. so that night, Jimmy went back to the wing and that. And all I could hear about 10 o'clock at night was all these animal noises and lion noises and all that. Windows getting smashed. It was Charlie Bronson. And I heard the next morning when the screws opened his door, he dressed himself in all this red Indian pink or red or whatever, and ran out going, "Blah." And he grabbed the first fucking screw and he lifted him up by the neck. And he says, I want the cleaner's job in here. He'd only been there a few weeks. And he says, aye, Charlie, anything. So you get banged up for 12 to 1 for the lunch. And about 20 handy and then moved him. And he got out, I think he got out in 92. And he was back in shortly, and he's still in all the time. So he was the very first kind of a high profile that people would understand who it was. But in later years, I was when I was in Long Lartin, I went down to Belmarsh, and in Bristol, there was a trial at Bristol, Jim, for 6 weeks. That collapsed. We tried to get, I'm going to go into this, a gun into court was allegedly getting smuggled in, and this all got found out. And so the trial got abandoned. Went back to Bristol, the screws get wide, they all get battered, know what I mean? And we all get sent to different prisons. And I went back to Long Lartin, and there was people for the IRA and that in there. There was people for the Mafia. There was a person I got to know well, Davy Poole. He was one of the Knightsbridge safety deposit robbers. He was done with an Italian guy, Vici. He actually gets shot when he gets released back in Italy. I think they get hundreds of millions out of this Knightsbridge. So
remember reading about that? Was that an 84 heist or something?
It must have been about 84. It was in the 80s anyway, because I came in 91. They'd already done a few years.
See, that Italian guy, was he part of the Mafia then? What happened?
I don't know if he was part of the Mafia, but he was a serious crook, and he went back to Italy, and the police actually shot him dead. Right. He was a heavy figure, know what I mean? And but I did meet another couple of people for Italy, a young person called Luca. We're in touch just now. And I think he was involved, and he was a good guy, you know what I mean? He was a fantastic cook, and I used to make all these cakes and all that. But I met Archie Hall, a serial killer. 6 people he'd killed. Jim, he was from Scotland, and he was actually next door to me. I actually sat and had a drink like that with him and all that. Just like, Archie, tell me about the killings and all that. Like, for fuck's sake.
Fucking hell.
And there was, I met Ronnie O'Sullivan's dad, the snooker player, who became a good friend. Charlie Kay ended up next door to me, and his brother, Reggie Kay, came for visits. He says, my brother's coming. So everybody at the jail was all excited. Big mate Charlie Krays coming. But also in the landing there was Eddie Richardson, for the Richardson brothers.
And they were rivals back in the day.
They were rivals back in the day, but I was friendly, very friendly with Eddie. We were on the food boat, Jen, to put you in the picture. You could make all your own food in these jails in England. You could go and buy all the spices. You could even buy mince and tortoise steak and Black Forest gateau and everything. And so I was in the food boat with Eddie and Ronnie and another friend and all that.
What was Eddie like?
Eddie was a complete gentleman. Eddie actually got to jail, I think he was about 52 or 54. He got another 25 years. It was a cocaine conspiracy with a Colombian, and I think he'd done about 12 years at it. No, he'd sit and tell the stories and all that while we were eating. So this was a way back in 1999. I'd done about 8 years in my sentence. So Eddie says to me one day, he says, you're a young man. I went in at 30. Hopefully I was going to get to 40. He says, what's your plans? I said, just to get out. And he says, but would you take up skiing? And I went, skiing? No, not really. I says, that's quite dangerous. He says, no, you got a lovely suntan and all that. And I know I've got a tan there just now. We saw about a suntan, you know what I mean? And I went, no. And I found it strange that they actually says take up skiing and all that. And I never ever took it. But Eddie was fabulous. Eddie must be about 86. I would love to go down to London and see him. Actually, Jim, I've no says this a lot. Actually, in 2004, when I was back in for a recall, I went down to see Eddie in London and spent a day or two with him.
Brilliant.
So I've known him for 20 years. He's getting on now. And I've still got his number, but I've no phone, do you know what I mean?
I know they were more kind of like businessmen as well, even though
they were right.
really clever.
But do you know, Jim, see when Eddie, it was the talk of the prison, see when Charlie was on the same landing and Eddie was just along the other landing, so we're on the same landings. So this story that Reggie's coming, Eddie, the Krays, the Richardsons, but it was fantastic. They put everything aside, they're older guys in, and the three of them were walking around the yard talking, and people were actually saying, if the newspaper got a photo of the three walking around, and it was great. And Charlie Kray was a fascinating character, because he got done with the twins away back in the 60s. He got 10 years with them, and when they get the life. So Charlie got out, and Charlie says, I used to get into his cell and have a cup of tea, and Charlie would be saying things like, when I get out, he says, I was going to QE2 and there was all these actors, George Raft, and he says, everybody'd run to me, Mr. Cray, how are you? Can get your autograph? How's the twins and all that? And
Barbara Windsor and all that.
Barbara Windsor, all them, that. I mean, and they would all run to him, and he says, my two brothers, he says, but he says I'd go and visit them, but everybody knew me because the Krays were. A lot of people say now, the Krays were nothing. That is shite. The Krays were. They were something. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Definitely, and
without a doubt.
I know Charlie. He wasn't really like the brothers. He was more.
He was more a business type,
Del Boy type.
Yeah, and Charlie was. How can I say it? Charlie was just a nice guy and with manners and all that, and he'd always talk to his civil, even on the visit in Long Lartin. Says to my brother, that's the Krays brother there, and I shouted Charlie, and I actually go and say, how you doing, Miss MacDonald? And a nice guy, but I could tell Jim he wasn't going to last that sentence. He did get fitted up.
That's the second sentence when he got...
This is, he got the 10 years in the 60s with the brothers, and this would be the 90s. He get 12 years, and he get fitted up, because I think it was a bit of a facilitator. He'd put people on to do things, but he wasn't involved. And they made this big thing up that he was going to supply 300 kilos of cocaine in a year. There was 1 kilo or 2 kilo recovered, and they multiplied all that, and they made it worse. But he even had Frankie Fraser going as a character witness in the Old Bailey for him. Who the fuck would get Frankie Fraser?
It's a good character witness.
It's brilliant. I never ever met Frankie Fraser. He was a bit of a man as well, and that was Eddie Richardson's closest pal.
He was his henchman type of thing.
Eddie used to always speak highly of him. But good on Frankie Fraser, going to the Old Bailey. The judge must have been, Jesus, a character witness for Mr. Krays.
I've seen a lot of stuff about Mad Frankie, well respected everywhere he went.
He was, I
know you also met Reggie when he came up, but I think he was near the end of his life then.
It was in 2000 he came up, and there was talk he was getting out, but the only reason they were going to let him out, I mean, he was seriously ill, and he was a shadow of the figure. I'd read all his books, saw the photos, was quite much, but when I met him and all that, so Charlie says, you'll meet Reggie and all that, and I went, Christ, this is going to be good, you know what I mean? So a couple of days later, Charlie invited me in for a cup of tea, and Reggie was there. How you doing? And he was civil in it as well, you know what I mean? And he'd spent by this time about 32 years in prison. I think he was going to get released the following year or something, you know what I mean? And so we were talking away, and I just says to him, I went, me and you've got something in common. And he looked at me, I said, fuck what? I says, so yours are Mammy's boys, because I'd read the books. And he went, yes, he says, my mother Violet and that. He says, we used to all go into the house and they'd all the suits and ties. You saw the films, that's all kind of a true, and she'd make the tea and all that. Loved my mother. And I says, I am my mammy's boy as well. So that was great. You know, I went to find me, but he sadly died. They let him out, and they only let him out because he was dying, and he had to go to he went to a hotel in Norwich, a hospital bed. So it wasn't freedom, but he was outside. I think he lasted 2 weeks, and he had all his friends up seeing him. And
I remember seeing that.
And sadly, Charlie died in prison. Ronnie died. He was in Broadmoor.
Right.
So the three Krays, they all died.
They made an example of them as well.
Definitely.
40 years.
And I think that's where Charlie Bronson, I kind of make an example. If he goes out, he'll be a kind of a made notorious legendary figure.
I think he's spent the most time inside for somebody that's never committed murder.
He hasn't, no.
Was it not?
He wasn't. Charlie Bronson was a really serious criminal, Jim. But in prison, he was in Broadmoor and they ripped the roof apart. And in prison, he's been a thorn in their side. No, I mean, he's took hostages, the art teacher in Hull, and different things, assaulted them, and he's done most of his times in solitary, you know what I mean?
We were talking about looking at parole now for him, but we don't know.
There was a big parole hang up last year, and it was just, no, they thought they were going to let him out, you know what I mean? But
it was also good for you as well, because you get no trouble in the gangster ring, you know, you were well looked after.
I never get I get moved loads of times in England because I was category, you know what I mean? They could move you any time. So I was in loads of prisons down there. I was in there 9 years and 2 months before up to Shotts for a year.
So you were released from Shotts then, I think it was 2001?
What happened in 2000 when I got knocked back from my first parole, and I just no longer off the category, so I went into the office in Long Lartin, and I always say prison officers, please, I hate them and all that, but yeah, did in my younger years, but I've came to learn that there's good and bad everywhere, Jim. There's good police officers, good prison officers. So in Long Lartin, they were quite good. So I went into the office and I says to them, what about me moving to an open prison rehabilitation? They all just went, you know, rehabilitation material. And I went, what? They says, you were in trouble for 4 years, the next 5 years, yes or no. I says, is that not the way it's supposed to be? Because Jim, I'd went for 18 months basically to 18 years, you know what I mean? And it was a struggle. Anybody that says prison is easy, well, I'd call them a liar. It's not. In my day, we never had, nowadays, we've got showers and cells, Sky TV, Xboxes. We had a piss pot and all that. And there was a toilet and a wee radio and all. I never had a TV in the jail, that big sentence, for 8 years.
I know I think you mentioned that in one of your videos on your YouTube channel. You were saying it's a real struggle to get through the first 5 years.
That was definitely true, Jim.
For the mind.
The mind, I struggled for 5 years, but Jim, you've got to put on a mask. See, I was full of anxiety and everything there, but you have to fight through it. You do the crime, do the time, and every time my door opened in the high security prisons for 5 years in England, came out, there was a masking on. I wouldn't go to the doctor or whatever. It's a sign of weakness, you know what I mean? You know, we were talking about the mental health now, that it's good. People actually say it's a strong thing in your character to do. But then it wasn't. You'd be seen as weak. So I had this mask going on and kidding on, I'm all right, but I wasn't all right. And it took me over 5 years to settle down in prison, you know what I mean? Then I just kind of used it as the Londoners did. Like a big community centre to go to gym. I learned cooking, Jim. I actually done a course in full sitting. I done a food technology, health and hygiene, and it was credited to a place in New York called Beverly College. So I enjoy cooking to this. So I've done that, positive note. I mean, I had to do courses and all that. But while I was in as well, a big thing that happened in 94, the Tories came to power again, and Michael Howard was on his bandstand shouting, "Oh, for this crime and punishment." So he implemented a lot of changes, and one of the worst things he done, Jim, was he brought in this drug testing. Everybody was happy, we joined, blah, 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 right? See when he brought that in. Drugs, hash stays in your system 28 days, smack and that is 3 days. So a lot of good people, Jim, stopped taking hash and took smack. And people look down on people on smack, you know what I mean? But I've got a lot of good friends that was on smack and all that for years and years ago. I didn't look down on them, but people saw that as a weakness, and that's when the trouble started. The hash, there was no problem. Then people were phoning up their mother, their friends. Can you send me no £10 or £20 a week for the canteen? That's to spend for your groceries or whatever. Can you send me £100, £200, £1,000? So this was all going to heroin. And sadly, a few people killed themselves through it as well. And even the prison officers at the time says that it's the worst thing that ever happened. This drug testing thing. We had an easy time with the thing with the hash, but the smack brought a lot of trouble, Jim, because then people, there was slashings and stabbings and cause of all this, and it was just, it was a bad thing to bring in, know what I mean?
It just shows you one change, how that can happen.
Aye, it
just causes chaos all over the system. But talk me through your release then. Was it shots you were in?
I went up to be fair to the prison officers in Long Lartin, when he says, "You're not rehabilitation material," and I says, right, okay then, can you send me to Scotland? Got there for my last year, blah, 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 because I was going back to Scotland to stay anyway, because I only travelled from Glasgow to Torquay for this failed robbery. So I wanted to get back to see what was happening, blah, blah. So I went to Stockton for 2 months, Jim, in November 2000, and I was assigned to go to Kilmarnock. It was a new prison, it was just built. So it got to the January and I was getting a bit pissed off, and it was like, what's happening? So they went, oh, you're not going to Kilmarnock, you're going to Shots now. And I went, oh, for fuck's sake, Shots. And a wee bit of trepidation there, but get up there. But see, to tell you, I went up there in January 2001, Jim. Do you know, it turned out brilliant. All the officers were all friendly. As I say, there's a big difference from the officers for Berlin and Shots. Berlin, they're all there to be sadistic and batter people, just whatever, know what I mean? They were probably getting bullied in school themselves, but Shots a different kettle of fish. A lot of people doing a lot of big sentences. But the prison officers in Shots, most of them they were there for the right thing, for a job and to pay their mortgage. So I can't really say anything bad about it. I even got a wee phone smuggled in there in my last couple of months. And I did the same thing. And the only thing I've got to say about Shots is I settled in there, Jim, a couple of months, and I went down to the office again. Can I get sent to Castle Huntley rehabilitation? Blah, 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 blah. And they went, you're no rehabilitation material. But they wouldn't get away with that now, Jim, because you're supposed to go to get integrated to learn life skills, things change in 10 years, you know what I mean? So I'm a big advocate of rehabilitation, and I can't wait till HMP Glasgow opens up. Not that I want to be in it, because I've read that they're going to be focusing on rehabilitation. That's what the jail's supposed to be about, Jim. Jail, being in prison itself is the punishment. Know what I mean? No, that's getting battered and all the rest of it. That's the punishment. That door shuts at night. So roll on, but HMP Glasgow, as usual, it's supposed to be 100 million. It's up to 400 million now, and it's up with a comfy province, Milroyston Road.
The gas tanks.
Aye, the gas tanks. They've not even started building it yet. So the sooner that's done, people maybe get thing made.
What year were you released? 2021?
I got out in November. My second
2001, sorry.
2001 November, Jim. Always remember it was brilliant, know what I mean? But a funny thing, right? I was dying to go out for over 10 years. See, the night before we got out, Jim, I started getting a bit scared. And you find this strange. I was walking up and down the cell, and I was like, so I've got to get out. I still want the good things in life. How am I going to pay for my rent? How am I going to do this? Because you get looked after in prison for 10 years. You've no worries apart from taking the time. No, I mean, you've no bills of that. So I was actually a bit apprehensive, but see, the day I got out, it was good. My mother, thank God, she went down to Slater's and got me a suit, because see, the sufferer was arrested in 91. See, if I had been released that morning in 2001 November, I'd have been like something for the 80s or the early 90s, like Shawadi Wadi with my clothes. So I had this suit for Slater's and that, and prison officers were like, me, oh, there's big, 2 big surprises out there for you, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, ah. And they says, oh, the Daily Record's out there. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And says, well, no, say around. So Jim, I stepped out the door, and my family and friends, they'd rented a big limo. I was going, fucking hell. So I was standing after the glass of champagne in the car park, the Daily Records like that, away. And the reason for that, the Daily Record, Jim, because I've got to tell you, see, when I was in shots, I was only in there 3 months, coming back from the gym one morning playing badminton. And when I started playing badminton at the very beginning, I could hardly put it out of the net. After 5 or 6 years, I was a Scottish internationalist next. So anyway, playing badminton and shots, and I came into the wing the Saturday morning. 2 guys from Govan ran over, and they went, you're in the front of Daily Records. So this would be about February, March 2001. I've only been shot. I've been in the paper for 10 years since I got in it. Front page, Jim. I'd only put a £50,000 hat on. There's a businessman. He's scared for his life, blah, blah, blah. And the story, there was 2 pictures inside. Picture of me, the ex-missus, and this guy, and saying that I had put a thing with a contract on him because he stole my missus from me, etc. He bought a house in Bishop Briggs with a swimming pool. And he says that 2 people came to his door and says to him, how do you want to die, the swimming pool or a car accident? Right? And this is on the paper. I'm reading this. I'm like, for fuck's sake, it's supposed to be me who's done all this. So anyway, all this was the Saturday, the paper. So the Monday I'm in the workshop and by shots, walking up and down, drinking water. I was doing a lot of work. Even in jail. And the governor came in and says to me, I see you're still up to your same tricks, Mr. MacDonald, because of this front page story on Saturday. And I went, I said, that's all crap. He went, pfft. He says, it came as a thing that sums up. The story is saying that it was people of England that's come up and threatened, and you've put a contract. I went, I can't bother. So I was worried about my next parole hearing. So my mum and my sister and that came up to see me, and they went, we didn't think you still had £50,000. And I went, I've not got 50 pence. Don't believe everything the newspaper says, you know what I mean? So that could have caused me a lot of hassle, but it didn't. The parole board released me, and it was a fantastic feeling to get out that day. The best feeling in the world is watching your children being born. I'm sure you'd agree with that yourself, being
Definitely.
a father.
So see, when you're being released then, right? And as you said, you're not getting taught these life skills. So all you know is how to be a criminal.
Yeah.
So it must have been very daunting. So you're going out there, and the last thing you want to do is go back inside. So how was your mind then? Were you trying to stay away from that? I know you like to party.
Well, Jim, I'll answer that. That's a good question, by the way. I'm glad you answered that. I came out, and because of the £50,000 contract thing that had been in the paper before I got out, it was a front pager. Then when I did get out, Jim, the next day, it was in the Daily Record, 10-year stretch, Gangster gets out and all that. And my wee ma, God bless her, she went like, I can't go to my bingo. Right, this story came out in, I got on a Thursday, the Friday, and she used to go to, where the fort is, there used to be a bingo up there. So my wee ma used to go up me and she went, because she's in, I'm cuddling her in the car park. You know what I mean? It's in 10-year stretch with limo. And my wee ma went, I can't go to my bingo on Saturday. And I says, Ma, don't worry about it. I says, it was only a robbery I was in for, it was not fucking else, you know what I mean? And so, because it affects the families and that as well. So getting back to what you just asked there, Jim, I came out and I went, right, so a couple of my friends came to see me for a couple of weeks. Do you want to get back in? We've made contacts in England, blah, 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 blah. And I went, no, I'm taking a year off. Who takes a year off? Me. I feel bank robber. No, what I mean, for fuck's sake. So this is right. So what are you going to do? This is, Jim, I go into Thursday, people say you'll be scared of traffic and all the rest of them. None of that at all. Pals are trying to get me drunk with these Bacardi breezers and Smirnoff Ice. And I says, I've had stronger drink than Nick. So they took me to, there was no lap dancing clubs in 91 when I get Nick. So they took me to, it's called Platinum Lace now. I think it was called something before that. It's next to the Horseshoe. Right. And took me in there, and this girl was like that. And I went, by the way, stop doing all this. I says, I've just been out here for fucking 10 years. You know what I mean? She's parading out ready to take her bra off and all the rest of it. So I went, fucking hell. So, Jim, that was the Thursday. Do you know I was in Victoria's on Saturday? And wee Peter, it was the head bouncer. He was like, oh, how you doing, Ian? Blah, blah, blah. Welcome home. And saw you in the paper with your man. And he says, how long was that? I went, he says, 5 years. I went, try 10. He says, it doesn't sound like that. I says, what fucking was like that? 10 years. So, Jim, within a week, I took control of Victoria's. I'm not sitting here bragging and I show off or whatever. Never took control. Never fingered in it for the money or that. I just says, I'm staying in here after hours 3 or 4 times a week, just out a party. And there was a reason for that. I never threatened anybody for that. One of the daughters invited me up in the Saturday. I was only out 2 days up Saturday. Invited me up afters. So I just thought it was my God-given right. And I used to go there, Jim, for 8-9 months. And used to get up there. And one time, one of the daughters said to tell Lena, can I come up to the piano bar? I'm on the dance floor, full of eckies and all that. Wee DG Vance and all that, you know what I mean? All the records on Forever and Superstar and all that. It was good days.
You're only in your 40s then, aren't you?
I'd have been 41 then, Jim.
Early 40s, and you missed out on all that?
I missed out the 10 years. No, I mean 91 to 2001. So, getting back in for a couple of days, and so everybody used to come up to me in Victoria and go, like, do you own this? Oh, I don't know, dear. Fuck.
So what were you just having lock-ins? Like wee groups of people?
Lock-ins.
And it was just no bother?
It started taking 5 people up, then 10, maybe 20.
Everybody's
they weren't saying that, and they were all loving it. But this time DJ Vance was on the Sunday, so these 3 young guys approached me, and I'm mad with the eckies, and I'm only about 3 or 4 months, and they knew about these lock-ins. And they came from Milton and Poso, and they went, any chance that we can have a lock-in with, you know, and you know my dad and all that. And I went, aye. I said, see then, just wait. So instead of going up to the piano bar this night, Peter says, no, he's just getting to the other bit of the dancing, right? So I went, right, so I'm walking about and all that, Jim. And about 3:15, Peter approached me, right? I'm fucking sweating with all the ickies and all the rest of it. And Peter approached me and he went, Ian, what's going on? I went, what do you mean? He says, come on now. He says, what? He went, have a look in there. Jim, see the three boys that asked me could they get in? They were with 20 of them, there was 20 of them with their girlfriends and pals, right? And they're all going, yay! And I went, do you know what? And I just turned to Peter and I went, and what about it? You were young once yourself. And he went, so I went in, so Jim, it was great, all the young boys and all that. I never pulled them up about it, know what I mean? Because that's it, innit? And it was great. They were taking me into the toilet, Jim, and they were all giving me recce's and coke. Oh, you know, my dad, you know, my fucking uncle and all the rest of it. So that's the sort of a things. And it did come to an end. The person who owned it, Mr. Mortimer, got sick of it, rightly so, but he never the balls and the courage to say stop doing this. No, I mean, I don't know why.
So that went on for, would you say, about 8 months?
8 months, 9 months, yeah.
So where did you go for there then? Because
I went for there. I forgot to tell you, Jim, see, in between that, I was seeing my social worker and he turned out a little cunt and he says to me, I know you're in the 6th centre all the time, you're up with Victoria's, I want you to stop that, but the new licence conditions, they can do that now. Then they were relaxed. I could do that, know what I mean, good, as I pleased. And there was a story in the paper that Mr. Mortimer had sold Victoria's to a company in Newcastle called Vimac for 6 million. So he went like that to my social worker, did you and your friend buy Victoria's 6 million? I went, wait a minute, I tried to steal 6 million. Where the fuck am I going to get 6 million by Victoria's? So this was all the thing. So it got sold. And so this new company, Jim, brought up. So I turned up, done a bit of research in this company, right? They were a company. So I turned up at the door and this guy, he was like, to me, I know who you are and all that, blah, blah. There'll be none of this coming in with 10 or 20 people. He says, I'll let you and one friend free, blah, blah. I went, wouldn't bother. So I says to this guy, I went, I says, it's strange. I says, you've got the same date of birth as my mother. I says, but no, the same year, right? They went, what? So we got in and he approached me in the dance and I went, mate, I says, look, what are you doing? A lot of people that I spoke about earlier, the Bacardi Breezers and the Smirnoff, he stopped selling them. I stopped doing this, stopped doing that. And I was actually going to say to him, freaking after it, I actually know where you stay and all that, but I never says that. So, Jim, this lasted, only went for 2 or 3 weeks, and me and my brother and friends were all getting up in a group. And I got affronted this night, 3 o'clock, on the bouncers. It was this guy employed at Next Copper. It was a bouncer company called Upfront, a Frontline, you know what I mean, one of the two. And they were dying to get me out. So, about 3 o'clock, 2 bouncers come here, drink up, lads, blah, 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 a wee bit cheeky. And I says to my brother, do you want to just batter their cancer? Right? There was about 10 of us here. They went, let's go for it. So we just attacked the bouncers, you know what I mean? I'm just telling the truth. And we're chasing them a bit. And you know, 6 of the bouncers, their pals, stood watching, right? And I was trying to take my belt off and that, Jim, right? So it appeared in the paper that gangsters versus bouncers, right? I get told, Jim, after this incident, right, that a message get told from the Vimac company, if you stay away, we won't go to the police. Lying bastards. They went to the police that night, told them what happened, showed them the videos, blah, 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 blah. And do you know what one of the bouncers says? So I told try and get my belt off because I was going to whack him with it, right? So I believe Blink had a gun on him. He was getting into his waistband. So it was all that. So me and my brother went down to Stewart Street with Mr. Shields again, you know what I mean? They said the two of them would get out, blah, 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 blah. So we done. So we get our fingerprints took and that, Jim. And this was the end of 2001. I was on about December, got about an 8-month run in Victoria's. So me and Gary went in with Joe Shields, says we're about a few hours. So they're taking fingerprints. So these 2 young CID went like, we don't really know who you are, this Blink and all that. And well, I don't know yous. So they went like that, Jim, can we get a ton? And I went, a ton? And I stood up, I went like that. And I turned round and I says, that's the only turn you get out of me. I says, see if you ask me that again, you can't, so batted your cunts in, right? So they took us back to the cell. The next minute, my brother Gary shouted, Ian, I'm not getting out the night. I says, what do you mean? He says, you were cheeky to them. I says, oh, I fucking was. And I shouted, Gary, get your head down. No, I mean, you should be kept in the night as well. But the plan was, Gary was scared, but I got told I was going to go out that night, but they weren't letting me out anyway, so they lied about that. So I just said to Gary, get your head down. So Jim, I ended up getting to jail for that as well, know what I mean?
Did you need to do another sentence? I
went back to prison, Jim. I was out 13 months, and I got recalled back to prison for a year. And I went up to Shots and handed myself in. It was Governor Audrey Park. This was another front page story. Blink and he's gone, says I was in Spain. And I wasn't. So I got up there, and the guy at the gate in Shots says, what are you doing up here? I says, well, what? He says, I saw you in the paper. I want to see the governor. So the governor came down, and there was this big sign outside Shots, welcome to Shots. So I stood there. So it was a police intelligence report get made up in Pitt Street, Jim. They made up about me. All lies, you know what I mean? So I decided after 5 days I was just going to get up to Shots to try and see if I could get back in there, you know what I mean? Because they were starting to go to doors and all that, and I says, I've done fuck all, you know what I mean? I didn't know what the intent of the police intelligence report was then. So got up there, governor came down, she says, who's that, sweetie? I went, my sister. It wasn't, it was a girl for the Daily Record, Cara Page. And I fought ahead, and I says, right, handing myself in, and Cara all day stories that I'm in there, a wee campaign that I'm kind of in. So anyway, I'm begging her to get in, and she went in. She says, this is a top security prison. She says, you don't come up here again. It's not a bed and breakfast facility. You can't just come in, you know what I mean? I'm like, going to let me in, or you'll take you and I go dancing. She went, no, I've heard about, you know. So she did, she let me in. And the next morning, she was like, don't be pressing your bell and all that, Jim, right? So the next morning, she came up to see me. I was in the NIC unit, the National Induction Centre. And she says, I'm not putting you back into the hall you used to be in. And she says, oh, you caused me all sorts of trouble. You were all in your cell and the serious crime squad come up. We know you've got Ian MacDonald in here, but he's in illegally. You've not got paperwork. She says, I'll deal with that. And I says to him, Ian's sleeping. So she was standing talking to me next morning, and I went, so you actually says Ian's sleeping? She went, aye. I says, good on you. So that was Audrey Park, another good governor. She was in Addiewell as well. I believe she went to America. So I was in for a year, Jim, and I was in Shots. I wouldn't go to work, you know. I says, no, I'm in here for fuck all, you know what I mean? This police intelligence report. But while I was in, Jim, I was in 3 months, and me and Gary appeared at Glasgow Sheriff. We were done with assaulting the bouncers and breach of the peace. But they were dying to get me back in, so they made a deal that Gary would plead guilty to assault and I would plead guilty to a breach to stop my licence. I could have been back to jail for 5 years. So no, the sheriff says, Gary's done, he's the angel. Gary had stabbed somebody at 17 and got Bostow when he was 19. He cut somebody's throat, got 8 years, but he's doing well, you know. He's on the path, he works and all of that. And so, bit of a record. So the sheriff turned around and fined my brother. Then he turned around, and he's pled guilty to the assault. Then he turned around to me and he went, 30 days imprisonment. He knew beginning with this 30 days was a good chance I'm going to get recalled for 5 years. And he turned around and says, you should have known better. I went, I need bother, mate. You know what I mean? So I'm back up with Shots, and I wouldn't go to work and that. So Audrey and that got me down after a few months in the office. Look, you need to start going to work. I says, no, I'm doing all my paperwork for my next parole here and blah, 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 blah. She says, we'll get you any job in the jail. I said, any job? She went, aye. I says, give us a job in your club then. She went, what? I says, well, that was my job when I was outside. I was in Victoria's after hours. I could go in there and serve drinks to the officers. She went, come on, that's a big ask, for fuck's sake. And I says, take it or leave it. So she left it. So I just never worked. Then I started pestering them, Jim. But okay, I'm back doing this 16 years, right? So I'd done 10 and a half in the first year. So I'm back in, I could have done 5 years. So I started pestering them that I wanted to go to Castle Huntly, rehabilitation. So they sent me there. I was only there, Jim, from November to April. That was 2003, April 2004. So go to Castle Huntly, and it was strange because I'd walked up that path as a young 16-year-old boy doing Bostow. Knew I was going back 25 years later. It's an open prison. So I get allocated a single cell. You can run a dorm. So anyway, I worked in the gardens till January, and they shouted me down one day, "Have you got your driving licence?" I went, "Yes." We're considering, would you like to get training for freedom, working with the Salvation Army? And I says, aye. I said, doing what? They says, I knew the guys had been sacked, worked on it. So I think they were going to the pub and all that, quite right. So we went, right, okay, get your licence. When it all gets sorted, and Jim, the routine was getting up in the morning, instead of going to the garden party where I was, the prison, it was about 10 years, took in a minibus, drove into Dundee. It was great, it was just getting out of the prison gate, and there was people working in charity shops, and I was assigned to Salvation Army in Dundee. So I went in there, got on great with this wee guy, Jim, who was a civilian worker. They sold clothes, furniture and all that. And there was a captain and his wife. There was a church upstairs. And I think they stayed up there. They were the main people. So I got on well with them. And a Tuesday, Jim, there was a pension day in Castle Huntly. So I was in doing the dishes and serving the pensioners, which was good. I enjoyed it. And the rest of the week, the Monday to the Friday, me and this other guy would drive about Dundee, Aberdeen, collecting furniture. But we had our wee gimmick. Every lunchtime, we went into a pub, but we only had one shandy and one Baileys. And when we got paid our wages, we used to get into this, a buffet style king. We'd get in there at lunchtime and have it. You're only supposed to do that, but we'd done that. And to get back to Castle Huntly, Jim, we finished about 4 o'clock. They never came and picked you up. They gave you a bus pass because it was to integrate you in with people and being out, which was great. I thought it was great. So then we were on the bus to Longforgan to Castle Huntly. So that kind of lasted, Jim, for 5 months, and somebody came up for the parole board for England, and he actually says to me, Jim, he says, if this was in England, you wouldn't have been recalled for that breach of the peace, because see when they sat for I went in the February 2003 for the recall, handed my cell in. So see, in August, they had a parole here in England. I was still governed with English parole board. They had a parole board, this intelligence report. But since then, I'd been to Glasgow Sheriff in April with the 30 days. So the first thing that I actually got recalled for, the parole board sat and went, we can't recall you for that, know what I mean? Right? There was no substance there. They says, but since you've been in, you have breached your licence with a breach of the peace. So you're in. But this wee guy came up, a magistrate. He actually says to me, that was wrong. You shouldn't have got recalled for that. I'll be recommending you to get out. So that's what happened, Jim. So
what year was that when you were released in?
2004, and I was getting out on April Fool's Day, Jim. So just to sum up all the stuff that was happening. So the night before I get out, Jim, again, as I says in shots, I was going, I don't really want out and all the bills. And so that night I started thinking again, and Jim, see, to tell you the truth, I wanted all the luxuries, you know what I mean, that I tried to get, which I couldn't get for the field bank robbery, and I wanted to have a glamorous lifestyle. So I made another stupid decision. I'm getting back in. Who makes that decision after doing 10 and a half years, then another year? I'd put anybody off, but I just says, fuck it, I'm getting another go, but I didn't want to be caught. So this is what I said there that night. I says, so I'm a field bank robber. I've been put back in for a year for Strathclyde Police stitching me up, false intelligence report. I'm getting out tomorrow morning, April Fool's Day, and I am not fooling about. So for the next 5 years, Jim, I get into everything, right? Started getting the money within months. The caravan in Craig Tara. I love caravans, by the way. I had a flat in the West End. Then bought the Mercedes, brand new Mercedes, got a private plate, Blink. Oh, by the way, people used to say to me when I first put the Blink Reggie plate on, did you just make that up, mate? I went, of course I never fucking bought it, you know what I mean? The reason I put it on, Jim, I was in trouble again with people. So it's supposed to be saying they're going to do this and do that. So I put the red, so there am I. And also I was down at Chelsea with Mick Keeley in 2006. And me and Mick, we didn't realise Celtic were playing Chelsea the next day. And so we were staying Chelsea on the ground. So me and Mick were walking about, we went into Chelsea shop, and I got a Chelsea top made on it, and I got Blink 1 on it. So I was walking about Chelsea, me and Mick, and people are actually saying for Glasgow, we actually thought you were a Celtic supporter, but I'm no bigoted or that. So when trouble started again, and I had the merc, I put the plate on, because people were saying I'm going to do this again.
So
you know
the
what I mean?
the Blinkmobile you called it?
Blinkmobile we called it, aye.
This getting it run about 2009 then?
Aye, but I'm sort of, but I had the car for 2006.
Right.
I had the car for 3 years, Jim, brand new.
Because I know between your release in 2009 you done a couple of documentaries.
Aye.
Was that with Bernard O'Mahony and stuff like that?
Aye, well, that I done the first ever first ever interview I done was with Mike Edwards in STV, you know what I mean? But just after that, I done a couple of documentaries with Bernard Mahoney and Brian Anderson, Faces. Then I done another one, a company for England, Britain's Underworld. It was Glasgow, Manchester.
I know.
So I done a few.
Danny Dyer was up
Danny Dyer
to do
he
didn't go well.
He actually never came up, but he was coming up. He had this programme. It was Danny Dyer's
Deadliest Men.
Deadliest Men. So they chose me to do a series. So I was in film 2 days. This was 2009, and what happened was, Danny was to come up for the weekend, so the whole of Glasgow knew about this, and they were going, can we come up to your flat? And Danny wouldn't have known what had happened. So to put the picture clear, Jim, he never came up, right? But he was to come up, but there was a bomb put under the car, and it was slashing his space of 4 days. I don't want to get into it too much. And I says to the directors, after 2 days of film, this bomb was the Friday, 2009. They went, for fuck's sake. And it was a viable device, you know what I mean? I was shocked myself, you know what I mean?
Is this when you started getting the Osmond warnings?
I had about 7 Osmond warnings that year, threat to lives. But I've always says, if somebody's going to kill you, the police are not going to warn you. They're going to, but still serious threats. But if somebody's going to kill you, they'll do it, you know what I mean? So at that time, Jim, Danny Dyer, since you asked, he so these two, it's director, another guy, camera guy. So he says, what's happening now then? This was 2 days after the bombing. We don't know if we should still be filming. I says, yeah. I says, film. He says, what's happening? I says, well, I'm bringing the gun out. He went, what do you mean you bring the gun out? I says, well, this is a serious thing. I says, people are going to try and shoot me, you know, they've put a bomb under the car or whatever. I says, I'm going to shoot them. They says to me, well, what if they try and shoot us? I says, well, that's even better. I says, I'll fucking throw yous two in front of me, so yous get fucking shot.
That'll be a good documentary.
So, and they went, what? And they knew I was serious. And I went, fucking hell. I says, young director, make your names, this is getting serious. But I was all hyped up at the time and all that. And so they says, the producer says, we can't get any insurance, blah, blah, blah. So they were like, they bolted. Right? So then I get slashed, Jim, 2 or 3 days later as well, know what I mean? Space of 4 days, and that's when Mike Edwards went to the day of the interview, and in the interview he asked me, he says, what is it you do and all that, and I says, I'm a crook. He went, what? And he asked a couple of other things, who you in war with, try to get me to stick the people in and all that. And I says, I'm in war with 2 people in Glasgow. And he's like, oh, who's that, Ian, and all that. Thought I was going to grass these people up. And I went, Strathclyde Police and Glasgow Gangsters. And then he went, you kind of went, you bastard, you know what I mean? And no, I started playing him, but it was my first ever interview. And it was nerve-wracking, but no, I just, because I asked him at the beginning, Jim, I says, what are you going to ask me? And then went, that's for you to find out, and I'm going to be asking, you know what I mean? He says, but then he went like that, Jim. He says, yes, before the interview starts, we're going to be covering your face. I went, covering my face? What do you mean? He says, well, we're not going to show your face. I says, well, wait a minute. That's a bit stupid. I've been out of the papers for the last 3 weeks. They're naming me. I'm supposed to be the victim, but they're naming me, I'm this bad person and all the rest of it. But I didn't want anybody to get arrested for that anyway. I says, I'll deal with my main way. And Mike Edwards says, well, that means you will be seeking retribution. And I went, I better watch what I'm saying here. He says, no. I just says, time's a great healer, and I'll be dealing. He says, but that's what the police is for. And I really said, fuck the police and all that. And so, Jim, that's been, yes, that's been 2009. So what happened, I get advice from a few people, don't continue, you're going to be dead, somebody else going to be dead, tit for tat. So it's been left to bed, and hopefully it still is left to bed, because some people are still saying, oh, you're going to get it. And I went, well, I'm not a hard guy to find, I walk about, but I don't get about bragging about this or saying about it. It was what it was. And I'm still here, and if they're going to kill me, they'll kill me. Well,
that's what I mean. It's such a mad story you've got there. So much trauma, you know. And like you said, at least now you can speak about it.
Right.
Whereas maybe when you were in the jail and stuff like that, you're holding all that in for years.
It's a weakness.
It's a weakness back then. You can't show any weakness, especially in that type of environment.
All, I mean.
But moving on in the story now, Ian. I know you like to be, as you said, speaking for the heart, but you're like a man of peace now. You've let it all go.
Definitely, aye.
And you've got your own successful social media channels. You've got your TikToks thriving, your YouTube channel, Blink and You'll Miss It. And
I wouldn't say they're thriving, but Jim, see, to tell you the truth, I started up the channel Blink and You'll Miss It about 2.5 years ago. And to be honest, the truth to the viewers, I was mad with it, because they could see that. And I had a green screen, didn't know what a green screen was, and people would go like, oh, you've got this fancy studio, but it was in my flat. And I didn't know the green, you know what a green screen is, can you just portray it? So I started that, then I chopped it for ages, Jim, but the channel's still up and running. And just about 3 months ago, I kind of revived myself. I just fucking says, right, out of this fucking depression and whatever. And I just went out one night and I spoke to the camera, spoke for 40 minutes, walked about, went back, and I'm a wee bit of perfectionist. I says, out for another 40 minutes, it wasn't right. A third time. And I just done this, and it was raining, just after rain, and I went, I'm going to put that on YouTube. Then I just developed a wee formula. While I was talking about my past, Jim, I was incorporating in that I'll try and speak to the young ones, but it's very difficult to speak to the young ones, because when I was young, Jim, it would run one ear and out the other. So no ramming it down anybody's throat, but I says to myself, I'll be the punishment and the consequences part. Because, Jim, see, to be honest, the truth as well, see, when I was making the money, it is good at the time, you know what I mean? And you go holidays and materialistically, you know, that is good, but there is an end game, and this is what I'm trying to say to the kids today. Get away with it, aye. I says, it's good, but there is an end game. Could end up in prison, worse, could end up in the grave, or karma will come to bite you in the arse. directly towards yourself, one of your family or one of your friends will be killed with drugs or whatever, or if you make millions, somebody will come and kick your door in to take that off you. It's a fucking... It's a hard one. So, Jim, I talk around I talk, we talk, don't go down this path, and because Jim, it's true, right? I had a job as well, right, a way back. My first job, heating engineer, 6 months, got to boss at 17, my mother and that got us it. And I done it for 6 months, loved it and all that. See, people I know now, it's heating engineers. Jim, they've got a boat house, they've got a wee flat in Spain, a great life, all with hard work. So what I try to tell the young ones as well, do you know what to do? Get a job in McDonald's, right? And see all your other wee pals that's going to cruise and getting the £200, £300 trainers, £200 t-shirts, oh, I'm Jack the Lad and all the rest of it. I say, that only lasts for so long. You start off McDonald's, then maybe get a wee apprenticeship, get a good job, see time you're 30. You have a boat house, you have a wee flat in Spain, have a great wee life, see the young troops, or the wee gangsters and all the rest of it, and the Charlie Big Potato just sit back, have a line, oh, I'm Charlie Big Potato, one line. The other one sits, oh, I'm Charlie Big Potato, two, another line, we're this, we're that, you know what I mean? I says, they'll be in the jail or the grave, and with the hard work you put into this, you'll be thriving. But Jim, I can see both points. See when you get into that game, there is a lot of money involved, and it could be easy money, but all these things come with what I've just explained. So that's what I'm trying to do, Jim. I'm not monetised on TikTok or YouTube. People saying, "Thing me, I've not got any money," and I give it, and somebody says, "I Blink skin," so I'm like that on YouTube. I went, and by the way, I'm a skint. I've got nothing, but I've got more riches than probably most of you just now. I've got 2 beautiful children, council flat. I'm just glad it's all cliches. I mean, this is true for me. I've been saying it to people lately. I wake up in the morning and I'm just glad to be alive. There's so many of my friends that's been killed, been shot dead, been stabbed to death, drug overdoses. I don't know how I'm still here. I thought I'd have been dead at 50. And now 2 prizes have been given to me. Give you a wee story. When my partner says she was first pregnant, and I was like, are you sure? No, that I was 57, so that was Duke Street where you come from, Jim, and all my pals up in there, Duke Street. So I went up there, and my pal Ross, especially, says, girlfriend's pregnant. I says, we were all fascinated. What age were you? And she's like, 55, 56. I says, I'm 57, I've broke your record. And he's went, what? So they're all going back into the pub, and I shouted them all back out, 3 or 4 of them, Ross and that, and wee Tam and that. I says, and by the way, don't be calling me blank anymore. I'm back to Blink. Know what I mean? And so that was it. And I had a wee daughter at 5, and got a wee son at 1 now. So 57, 62, you know what I mean?
Amazing. It's amazing.
And the first date also with my partner, we spoke about this. Another gun incident. Fuck. We were in first date, Jim. We were in the Anchor Line, but before that we were in Metropolitan and Brown's fancy places. And this was in the paper. People were, how the fuck can he go to all these fancy places on a gyro? You know what I mean? So in Anchor Line, I hadn't even kissed her, Jim, and we came out. Next minute, all these police. Police, have you got a gun? And I was kind of a stun, but I was drunk. I sobered up with all these cocktails. They were just came flying at me. And I went, well, if I did have a gun, I says, it'd be down there firing blanks. Well, wait a minute. That was a lie. There was a kid produced shortly after that. Then another one. And they took me up to my house, says, we've got a warrant. We've got intelligence that you're running about with a gun. Do you know, this is 6 years ago. I've been out of serious crime 10 years, you know what I mean? And somebody has gave my name. It's probably been in a police station. Or Blink's carrying a gun about with him. Get these drug charges. What I'll do? Because it was no gun. And I started getting a bit scared. Taking him up the flat, you're going to fit me up. But they police are not, to be fair. They were quite fair. We're not like that. We've been called out in a special mission for you to get you. And then after I was like to them, so the warrant was this is on Tuesday, this is Friday, with Sheriff Finlay. How did you know come up, kick my door and that? We can't tell you that. So they were hoping to get me in this pub with a fucking gun. But it never put the partner off. I think it made her more excited.
They love all that danger, don't they?
The girls do, they like a bad boy.
Because they're always asking me, different people I speak to are always saying, they're only interested in the gangster ones or the criminals. And I'm saying, what about the spirituality?
Exactly.
No, they like
but
that
you see that gangster word as well. I've been targeted with that newspaper. I hate that word gangster. Anybody could be called a gangster, know what I mean? But it's a label, but all the young team, they all like that kind of, and the girls seem to be attracted to bad boys, don't they?
It's just and it doesn't matter, because I was speaking to somebody and I says, what is the attraction? What's wrong with
that's what I think as well. What is the attraction as well?
What's wrong with having the doctor and you get treated like royalty and you're pampered, and they're saying to me, well, that's boring. We want the danger, but it's been an absolute honour having you on, Ian. But see,
take these sunglasses off.
Before we finish up,
sunglasses and jacket off in the gym.
Not a problem.
Because people think I'm probably hiding my eyes because I've got black eyes or something.
No, we'll get it off. Just finish up.
Just get off and see, showing his muscle.
I just wrote it down, mate.
The other day. Jim, but so sorry.
No, so see, before we finish up this episode.
Yeah.
If there's another...
I've enjoyed talking to you, Jim. It's been great,
mate.
It's been brilliant.
See if there's another message that you can send out to the audience watching.
Aye.
Now is the time, because I know you can talk.
Oh, fuck's sake, I know I can talk. The message is to, especially the young team, Jim, as I says, get a job in McDonald's. I know your pals maybe laugh at you, but with hard work, which I've never done, it does pay off in the end. And the social media thing and all that is a big thing, and it's quite bad, Jim. But when I came out to jail, there was no social media and all that, and people are influenced and all that with social media and that as well, isn't there? And it's kind of it's fake, a lot of it, know what I mean? And so that's it, and just live life, be blessed that, well, I'm blessed, Jim, I'm still alive, as I keep saying. And it's just one day at a time. Also, Jim, a big thing of your partner now is recovery, you've done brilliant. I've been in recovery twice. It's not been for me, but a lot of good people in there. And my wee pal Jerry Knotts, we'll be talking to him soon as well. And there's a lot of good people there. But Jim, it's either for you, it's not for you. So I'm just kind of trying to do it myself. And I'm no angel, as everybody knows. And when I do my walk and talks, they go, is he going into the pub and all that? And I show them me having... I was actually in Lauderstream the other week. My brother Gary,
that's right.
And I was drinking water. Yes, water. And I was doing wee interviews. So, do you know this guy came out and I went, mate, I'm doing this. He actually whispered and went, do you want a patsy? And I went, for fuck's sake, mate. So, most of the things I do, Jim, I just leave it. So I left that on, know what I mean?
But it's everywhere.
I never took a patsy, it is everywhere.
And as you said, I done it myself as well. I couldn't really fit into groups and stuff like that.
Aye.
But I think whatever works for each individual, they need to choose
but
that
Jim,
path.
what I must say about you, I was highly impressed about your Macada. Is it Macada?
Macaba.
I was highly impressed. Jim, to the audience listening, Jim's a good guy. He's got his life on track, better than me. He was doing a lot of good things. He was walking along the streets, homeless, trying to give him a bit of advice with you, Jim.
That's right.
Where is your wee friend in Tenerife?
He's moved out to Spain. He was good. We are good friends. We grew up together.
Are you still in touch with that
I
just
spoke
now?
to him briefly.
I've saw he's been doing wee videos earlier. But Jim, you've done a lot of recovery, and I've watched a lot of Jim's programmes, And I like that there was girls on that's spiritualist, and she went to China or somewhere in a retreat.
India, my good friend Stephanie.
Stephanie, that was the one. She was brilliant.
We'll give Stephanie a shout out.
Yes, shout out for Stephanie.
The
She was
Soul
brilliant.
Centre.
And she done all that herself, and she says she glad the retreat.
That's right.
And no,
she's
that
from
lassie was
India,
great.
her family are
But
Indian.
Jim, you're building a good wee channel here and all that. And I did say, if I'm going to do another podcast, it'll be with Jim King, because I've promised. And the boy Ricky, no, the boy Sean Toll.
Sean Toll,
has been asking
good friend of mine as well.
And I don't really want to do the podcast, because I don't want to
Keep
because every
repeating.
regurgitate. I says to Jim earlier, and don't want to get in too deep about things, but I've really enjoyed.
No, it's been great. It's been an absolute honour having you on, mate. You're a gentleman. I was just looking to see, you brought a bag in to see if they hidden millions are in there. Hey, Sam skint as well, Ian.
I know.
Maybe we could use that and go out. Maybe
I've had these training shoes for 14 years, you know what I mean? And these shoes for 5 years. The watch is 18 years.
I know that means a lot to you, that
that's all
watch.
I've got left, know what I mean?
But listen, thanks.
Cartier Roadster.
I want to thank you again, mate, for coming on.
No, I thank you, Jim. I've actually got a bit of therapy speaking to yourself.
It's therapeutic, mate.
And instead of getting all the gangster stuff and all the shooting, we've spoke about, because it would be boring just talking about the recovery and things like because of the life I've led, and we've not even touched base, know what I mean?
We have to.
And
I'll be you back for a part 2 then.
That was possibly on in a few months, Jim.
There you go. Good man.
Jim. And I wish Jim every success.
Thank you very
He's
much,
doing
Ian.
brilliant, know what I mean? He's a total gentleman, know what I mean?
Thanks a lot, Ian, and I wish you all the best for the future, my friend, and I would have you back on in a minute, just
No,
any
that's
time.
great. So I hope you go for strength for the same, Jim. I'm sure you will.
Thanks very
You've
much.
got a
Shake
good
my hand,
nature
mate.
about you and all that as well.
Aye, good man.
There you go, Jim Blight.
Thanks a lot, right?
Thank you.
Take care,
mate. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.